So for all of us, our big question is, will Swift get better? Just dying of thirst is a real possibility. He can't really walk. I don't know how he's going to make it. So the next chapter in reading 11 is called Raven. All the next day I sleep. The stiff bark over my cut itches, but my tongue is too dry for licking. My leg hurts, but it will bear weight. Wow. In the cool of the night, I walk toward the smell of water. Wow, as slowly as a bear walks out of his winter den. What a beautiful simile that was, comparing his walk to the walk of a bear out of a winter den, which would be really slow. At sunrise, I see a ditch full of water ahead. The stench of cattle is thick on the ground, but I do not care. Without water, I will die. A few steps closer, and the scent of men stops me in my tracks. In the mountains, we found the smell of men around circles of stones and ashes. It is the smell Mother taught me to fear above all others. Men are the worst of all dangers, unpredictable. Even bears, with all their seasonal moods, are easier to understand than men. I duck low in the grass and watch. There is no sight or sound of men. I creep closer and get a smell at the prints. I am in no shape to fight or even run, but these prints have no toes, just a pad in the back and another pad in the front. Maybe this man cannot run either. Mother says they are fast for only having 2 legs, but they cannot fly like all of the others with 2-leggers. I cannot risk a fight, so I wait, even though I am more thirsty than I've ever been. Even though the sun is rising, and with it the heat, and with that my thirst, still I wait and listen. And when I'm sure, completely sure that the men are gone, I dash for the water and plunge my head in. Even with the stink of cattle, nothing in my life has ever tasted sweeter than clear, cold water. I drink until my belly is full. I find a hidden spot and doze all day in the soft green grass. Mice come to the water, and birds and rabbits. They are all too fast for me. By moonlight, a lumbering raccoon comes to drink, and in one agonizing leap, I crush it. Pain shoots up my shoulders as I eat. The next morning, I am still lying in the grass and nibbling on the bones when a single raven swoops down and lands beside me. For a long time, she regards me with her one-eyed stare. This raven is black as dirt after a fire, just like all the rest, but she has a bare patch on her chest, picked clean of feathers. I look at it carefully. She looks at the brown bark on my chest just as carefully. What could have happened to her? She flies as well as I used to run, but why has she come to watch me so intently? I look at the bones around me. I've eaten every scrap. In my hunger, I left nothing for vultures or ravens or any other creature in need. Father would have been ashamed of me. I sniff the skeleton and find a scrap of meat left on the leg bone. I nudge it toward the raven. I remember how ravens talked to my father, how they led him to food and he thanked them with the gift of scraps. I need my pack, and maybe this raven can help me find them. I would give an entire elk to know what she can see from the air. I dip my head to her as I've seen birds do. She dips her head in return but does not take the meat. She circles around me, making a low, rattling call. I've seen a raven do this to an eagle that had caught a rabbit. The raven kept circling behind the eagle and pulling his tail feathers, a test to attack the raven. And the eagle would have had to let go of the rabbit, except for wolves. Nobody hunts as well as an eagle. As I watched, I waited for the eagle to strike the raven dead, but even though the eagle towered over the raven, outweighed it, had far greater reach of wing, the eagle simply swallowed a few more bites of his kill and flew away. At the time, it gave me hope in my quest to make Sharp lower his tail to me. The largest creature doesn't always win. Daring and persistence can triumph in the end. But now the raven's game makes me nervous. What does she want from me? I've given her all the meat I have left. I get to my feet. The pain in my shoulders is less, but it feels stiff when I spin around to meet the raven face to face. She takes a few flaps backwards and circles behind me again, and I spin in the other direction. It isn't so stiff on that side. I shake out my matted fur and growl at her. She fluffs up her neck feathers and caws at me. I should have asked Father how to speak to ravens. He seemed to understand them without words. The raven takes a scrap of bone in her beak and flies away. She climbs sharply, drops the bone directly over my head, and then dives for it. And against my will, I crouch as she plummets toward me. And then, with a sharp thwump of opening tail feathers, she catches the bone in her claws and pulls out the dive and circles me with chatters of victory. A good trick. She flies off ahead, but in my clear sight, drops the bone and dives for it again. This is no pup's game. Ravens do these things for a reason. She is talking to me. She must know where to find meat. For all their savvy, ravens have the wrong beak for opening a hide. They need someone with teeth to get the meat. I follow her, walking at first, but as my stiff leg loosens, I manage a slow trot. Wow, Swift is getting better. She takes me out across the prairie away from the water. There are countless game trails. Each smell distracts me, but I cannot run fast enough to take down a coyote or a deer. One of the trails has a man smell. My father never hunted elk without checking for it. We walked away from the easy pickings when the scent of men was on the ground. I'm happy when the raven leads me away from that path. The sun rises high in the sky, and I'm weary enough to stumble when I hear the sounds of rushing water. I stop, listen. There's no water smell. I can only smell hay and mint and a few other things I've never smelled before. I pause and lift my head, turning from side to side to make sense of what my nose tells me. We come over a rise in the ground, and before me is a green meadow with no elk or deer or anything good in it. Only nodding rows of dark green mint stretch on in unnatural straight lines. Mother showed me a man's home ground once from far away. It had plants in straight rows and great patches of bald earth. Men do things for no reason, she said. A man sat upon a noise-making thing and rode it back and around in wide circles over the dirt for no reason. There was good water to the side of him, and a deer with her fawn hiding in the dappled shade of an aspen on the other side of him. He had no use for food or water, so she's still talking about the farmer. Men do much with dirt, Mother said, but they can kill with a look and a loud noise. Keep your distance. There's no understanding them. The plants and rows make me anxious, and I raise the fur on my shoulders to say so, but the raven coaxes me along. At least there's water in a ditch to drink. On the far side is a black river, a raven black river, completely still, frozen in the heat of summer. The noisemakers of men go down this frozen black river faster than I can run. It smells like death. I'm weary and disappointed. This is no place for a wolf. My family would never look for me here. I sit down and refuse to budge. The raven circles over my head and then swoops toward the shore of the black river. and in my disgust I ignore her. The raven just as stubbornly swoops from me to the shore and back again. I do not care. I'm not moving a step closer. In all the shock of bad smells and loud noises, I almost don't hear the coyotes. They scamper around the mint field in a yapping yellow mess. They go to the raven and with yelps of glee fall upon whatever she has shown them. My stomach rumbles and water runs out my mouth. I've not eaten since yesterday, and I need a full belly in order to heal as I should. I stand up and make my way toward the feeding coyotes. If they see I'm injured, they will turn on me, but if I scare them away with a howl, I can carry off some meat. I warily circle downwind of them and stand at the top of the ridge. I raise my head and let out my fiercest howl. The coyotes scatter as though they have been swept by a storm. My tail rises to see them disappear into the tall grass beyond the farm. I turn back to claim my prize. Wow. So we will end it there. That's the end of reading 10. So go to your Google Doc and fill in your good summary along with your questions, predictions, feelings, and thoughts. I'm excited to see what he found.